Here's the secret to thinking like an EMDR therapist. It's not the protocol, not the phases, not even about memorizing the scripts. It's how you think about memory networks. And one of the keys to doing that, the float back. Hey y'all, I'm a certified EMDR therapist and I'm Drea approved consultant in training. If you ever processed a memory with a client and then a couple weeks later they come back and they're like, this just still is not feeling fully processed, this symptom is still coming up for me, that usually means that we didn't trace far enough back in that memory network. And a float back is your backbone. It is your roadmap for an EMDR treatment plan. It allows you to map memory networks, anchor targets, and create a treatment plan that actually works and brings full resolution. The float back is described by Dr. Shapiro within her work. Its job is to trace present-day symptoms back to earlier memories that form the network driving it.
The touchstone memory.
A touchstone memory is the earliest memory that we have along a neural network, and it sets the pattern. It is the memory that shapes our belief systems, our emotional responses, our somatic responses, and all of the things that we see today when a client steps into our office. It's like the root of the tree, the symptoms being the branches. Those are the things that we see that are in our face, that are in our client's face. I see a lot of therapists grabbing whatever important memories clients bring in or whatever recent experience that they talk about and just kind of grabbing those and running with it and doing reprocessing around those. And that's not inherently wrong, but it's also not inherently right either because we're not getting to the root of our tree. So we may see temporary symptom relief, but it's unlikely that we see full resolution. I think about it like this. If I were to say, you're no longer a therapist, your job is now to be a book editor, and I brought you this really big book with tons of pages, it's really messy, it's disorganized, the author is like, I don't even know where to start. You, my friend, probably would start at the first chapter, right? You wouldn't just like stick your hand in, pull out a page and be like, let's start here. That is what's happening when a client is sort of just bringing in memories or recent experiences that they want to process, and they're doing that on a consistent basis. We might be getting to some of the chapters, some of the pages, but at the end of the day, we're not going to have a cohesive book that has been edited. And typically, that's what our clients are asking us to do. They want a full edit of their story, not 1 or 2 pages or chapters edited. Floatbacks work the same way with memory networks. You trace from the earliest memory to the most recent experience, those present day symptoms. That's how you understand the full story and build a treatment plan that brings full resolution. So here's why the floatback is critical. It is basically your treatment plan. It is finding the target memories that you and your client are going to work on. Without it, we're often reacting to whatever memory the client brings up first, or the client walks in and says, this is important to work on. It might give us temporary relief, but the network stays incomplete because we haven't gotten to the root of that tree. Clients will sometimes come back feeling triggered or stuck, and then we are like, oh my gosh, what is going on? It's probably that we didn't get to the root. Once we do have a treatment plan, I make sure that we focus on these 3 things. That touchstone memory, that is our earliest memory along that neural network, and it's important to get to that because, again, say it with me, friends, it is the root. We also want to make sure we're working on the highest level side. Sometimes those are the same targets. Sometimes those 2 things are not the same target, but we want to make sure that we work on the thing that holds the biggest yuck for that client. We also want to make sure that we're processing the most recent experience that a client is experiencing today. Targeting at least these 3 things is going to give you a more complete roadmap. It's how you build a treatment plan rather than just reacting to the surface level symptoms. For example, let's say that a client experienced assault in college and they are now having trouble with trust within romantic relationships. Maybe they come in with a recent conflict with their partner where they're struggling to trust them. If we only process that recent conflict, it's likely that they will find temporary relief. But the root of that network is still unprocessed. Using the float back, we might find that larger, maybe high SUD assault that they experience in conflict, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to see, are there any earlier memories that might be connected to this? And maybe we find the touchstone being an early interaction with a parent or caregiver. It is equally important that we get to that root of that memory as well. Targeting these 3 points will give us a much more comprehensive treatment plan than just targeting that recent conflict. Here's what a float back typically looks like in practice. There are different entry points, so you can float back using a negative belief that you have about yourself. You can float back using present day symptoms or a recent experience. How I usually do it, which is not the right way, it is just my way. Clinicians can do float backs in lots of different ways. I get clear on what are we actually working on? Is it an emotion, a belief? Is it a situation? I'll usually just say what's the thing that we're wanting to focus on? What is getting in the way of you living your best life right now? Then whatever it is, whether it's anxiety or I can't trust people, or I'm having nightmares, I will help them identify, okay, what is a recent time that you experienced this? We'll find the most recent time and we'll use that sort of as the thing, and then I'll start asking some questions to really activate their nervous system. As you're thinking about this, what's the negative belief you have about yourself? What emotions are coming up for you? Do you feel that in your body? And then I'll say, okay, kind of as you're thinking about all of these things, really feel it, allow it to simmer in your system, and just let your mind float back. You don't have to force it. There's nothing specific that we're looking for. We're going to trust whatever comes up, even if it does not, even if you're questioning, if you're this doesn't feel connected. Sometimes I will share with clients that in one of my float backs as a client, I had this really seemingly benign memory that came up, and it actually ended up being probably one of the most important memories in our treatment plan because it just unlock something in my brain. So we're just gonna float it back. Any and all things, I will act as your scribe. I'm gonna write it down. I don't need a lot of detail. I just need a few words to describe it, and then I'll just start keeping track of it. I will let them give me as many memories as they want to give, and I, as a relational therapist, again, this is just my style. This is not inherently right. I will just allow them, if they really want to get into things, I will allow them to talk about these details unless I feel like it is not helpful. But I do let clients know first, I don't need a lot of details. Sometimes clients have big storytelling parts that come up, and that's okay. Therapists may use float back in different ways. Some use affect scans, some use direct questions, some use a mix. The key is that we do the float back in the first place. So I know what you're thinking, okay, but there has to be times where a float back is not appropriate, right, Sarah? Yes, while a float back is essential most of the time, there are, of course, always exceptions. So sometimes we might not use a float back as if there was a single incident that we're focusing on. A lot of things like an assault may be something that we're just focusing on at once. We are focusing on the assault. Maybe we're even fractionating, right? We're breaking that memory up. If you want to learn more about fractioning, drop comments below. I'd love to do a video on that. Really recent memories, if we're doing a recent event protocol, we're not going to do a float back. If we feel like using a float back from the start may be too activating for our client, we might just start with those present day triggers, and then we might collaboratively talk to our client about the importance of the float back and how that could help us. And hopefully getting to some of those present day triggers, we'll see at least a little bit of symptom relief that will then allow us to do that deeper dive to the past. I see the float back sort of as my default, but the protocol can guide a zoomed in approach as needed. Remember, each memory is a chapter. A float back lets you read the whole story and see how chapters are connected and what is actually needing your attention. By targeting the earliest memory, the memory with the highest SUD, and a recent experience, you are not just guessing. You have the foundations for a really excellent treatment plan that is grounded, intentional, and comprehensive. And if there are other memories that while you're doing that float back came up for that client, of course you would add those to this treatment plan. That is going to be more helpful, give us a more comprehensive edit of the book than if we are just going with whatever a client is bringing in. Without a float back, we often miss the root of that neural network and only touch the surface. So this is why I see the float back as the backbone of thinking like an EMDR therapist. If this helped, make sure that you hit subscribe, ring that bell, and drop your float back questions or tips below.